And just when we thought Toyota was out of the woods, I'm pretty much sure I'm not buying a truck like this anytime soon. I'm not all that interested in looking at what I just came across this article. Torque News came up with this, and I want to basically summarize up. Till now, we've heard that Toyota Tundras and their new 3.4 liter V6s that we're finding in the Tundras, as well as the Lexus LX600s, we found that they've sustained failures, but in earlier models. They said initially it was 2022s to 2023s, but we're finding out something a little different. So I've got a couple stories here. I want to dive into this storyline because it's certainly not helping the reputation overall. I put a lot of faith in the brand. We bought a Camry ourselves. I was even looking forward to maybe buying one of these new trucks. And like they say, never buy the first couple years, 2 to 3 years of any vehicle. We now have this latest Tundra TRD Pro. If you look here, hybrid, headed out to Maryland, made it 400 miles, and the engine locked up with only 1,528 miles on my truck. And that's a 2025. We've ripped the Band-Aid off, and I think it's pretty clear that it wasn't restricted to 2022 and 2023. Initially, that 100,000 some trucks. This is very, very disheartening and very disturbing for me because I truly was thinking about maybe buying a Toyota truck, and I never wanted to buy the first couple of years, and now I'm not even sure if I ever want to buy one of these at all. This goes on, this storyline here, by a gentleman by the name of Kirk, who bought a new 2025 Tundra, had an engine fail on him only 1,528 miles in the 2023 to 25 Toyota Tundra owner's Facebook page. And I quote, Kurt says, I headed out on a trip to Maryland and we made it about 400 miles. It broke down with only 1,528 miles on the truck. I'm sitting at the Toyota dealership with a locked motor waiting on it. They said I needed to new motor swap. I have a 2025 TRD Pro hybrid. Okay, but it's not exclusively the hybrid because there is another 25 model year and probably many others. There's been more complaints, which has certainly got Toyota lifting their ears and their eyebrows. This is read off by Torque News. The automaker must replace over 100,000 2022 to 23 Tundra pickup and Lexus LX SUV engines with the V35A, and I've talked about that before, 3.4 liter V6 power plant. This recall is a minor inconvenience and a significant disruption for Tundra owners. Okay, there's clearly more of these because here's a non-hybrid by user Zaki2227. I purchased the new 2025 Tundra SR5 non-hybrid with the TRD off-road package, and 4 days into the owning it, the engine started ticking with a sort of metal on metal rubbing noise that is rhythmic. So there's a very consistent tick, 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 tick. There are only 522 miles on this truck. 2 weeks later, Toyota doesn't know what's wrong with it. They said they could take 2 to 3 additional weeks to get them to figure it out. He paid 64 grand for that truck, and that's the non-hybrid version. It's even more for the hybrids, of course. You want another story? Natura 9051 says, yes, I bought a 2025 SR5 and had mine for 20 days, only 1,000 miles. Check engine light went on. It took them 3 days to tell what was wrong with my truck. They called me today and told me apparently it indicates that extra debris is accumulating in the engine. This is a 3-week-old truck we are talking about. I thought I wanted one of these a while back, and I really thought, I put my faith in these vehicles because, we know Ford's dropping valves or breaking valve heads off of some of their engines in the EcoBoosts. They're having other issues with cam phasers, all kinds of other problems, carbon fouling, turbos, wastegates, you name it. Of course, we have GM now and their L87 and their recall for almost 1 million engines there, 877,000 engines. And then, of course, Stellantis with their Rams, they got a whole new twin turbo straight six. But there really isn't a quality full-size truck right now that I can think of. There's nothing out there that you won't be taking on significant issues. There's usually a couple weeks worth of work to do on most of these. You're talking, 15, maybe 20 hours worth of labor to swap an engine on some of these vehicles. But it's a sad state because we heard the early ones, 23s, 22s were problems. Maybe I'll wait. I'll pick up a 25. And these folks are absolutely thinking outside the box, believing that, after a couple of years, it's made front page news that guaranteed you're going to have a good truck. I would have assumed that too, and most people probably would have. The idea of replacing all those 100,000 engines, that's going to take a while, but at least having the issue pinpointed, rectified, and more importantly, corrected in the new stream of vehicles coming out. Okay, so you'll notice just picking selectively a 23 Tundra, we have 10 recalls currently. Incorrect weight capacity. Okay, a vehicle with incorrect maximum capacity may be overloaded. Okay, fine. And debris in engine may cause stall. That's the engine failure issue that everybody's talking about so much. Came out May 30th, 2024. There's also unexpected vehicle movement, so that will roll. We have load carrying capacity issue. Carrying capacity, you'll notice a lot of it related to the carrying and the capacity of the vehicle. Fuel leak from damaged fuel tube. Spare tire carrier assembly chain may break. Tonneau cover may detach. Blank LCD display, some issue there. We had similar to that with our Camry, by the way. We had a blank, well, not LCD, but we had a stopping audio, so it's a little different issue there. Incorrect load carrying capacity label right there. This is clearly a big issue for Toyota. Not sure where they're going to go from here. Not sure how long this fiasco is going to go on for, but time will certainly tell. Okay, and here's another one. So as we scroll down, we'll see what else we can find in the bad engine failures here. This one goes back a little bit, but we have 1.4 million Hondas may see engines fail, prompting US probe. Well, what this story is actually based on a lot of the Honda and Acura products. There's that 3.5 liter V6, and see, it's pretty disheartening because, you know, car manufacturers that we truly trusted a few short years ago, the Toyotas and Hondas, are now having significant failures. But the types of failures that were not uncommon in buying a Chevy or a GM. But this one here is 2016 to 2020 Honda Pilots and Acura MDX, as well as a 2018 through 2020 Honda Odyssey and Acura TLX. Also includes the 2017 and 2019 Honda Ridgeline. So basically they're saying rod bearings in the 3.5 liter V6 and connecting rod links. So that's essentially when you got the connecting rod and at the bottom you got the crankshaft, there's an interface. That's a two-piece bearing that sits in there, okay? That bearing is known to take a walk or to catastrophically fail. Now what they're saying is Honda recalled about 250,000 vehicles in November of 23 to fix the same problem, but the agency says it has 173 complaints from owners that reported connecting rod failures, yet their vehicles weren't even included on that original recall list. So what that means is clearly there's a pile of vehicles that were excluded. There was a lot more vehicles actually potentially impacted here. It's hard to say right now if all 1.4 million of those vehicles have that issue. But if you have a 3.5 liter V6 Honda or Acura in that time frame, then there's a good possibility you want to check National Highway Transportation Safety Administration or NHTSA's website. Type in your VIN and you're likely going to be welcome to any host of issues that you find in there. Honda, Toyota, they're certainly losing a lot of the confidence, you know, the loyalty, the base of customers that truly had faith in the brands. They seem to be losing that. I mean, Honda, I personally like this engine. It's one of the last naturally aspirated V6 engines that you can actually get on the market. Toyota pretty much almost gave away all of those engines. They're all going to turbo 4s replacing V6s and turbo 6s replacing V8s. So Toyota's doing all turbo engines. Honda still actually has that punchy little 3.5 naturally aspirated V6. The only downside is, well, now we have this recall, this rod bearing issue. Honda Pilot right there. You'll notice the Pilot SUV, front wheel drive. We have the all wheel drive. Let's go with the all wheel drive version 21. We'll click onto the recalls and see what they have to offer. It says there's 8 recalls. There's a bunch of other issues, of course, investigations, communications. There's all kinds of information here. Airbag may deploy unintentionally during a crash. Fuel pump may fail. Loose fastener on brake booster assembly. Rear view image may not display. Side mirrors may detach. There's another page to this. And let's take a look. Tire carcass may break, causing sudden air loss, so your tire could blow out. Instrument panel soft or incorrect. And a delayed or inoperative rear view camera. So that's all we have for this one currently. But there may be something else as well. And I wonder if there's something under complaints. See, as you go to complaints now, this is customer complaints. We have stuff related to airbags, electrical engineering, engine seats, fuel propulsion system. And we can expand on that. And this may have related to stalled out and would not start, fueling issues, and there were some problems with engines, of course. These Hondas, they're great engines when they're working, so you definitely want to check your recalls. You want to check the VIN. If you're shopping for one of these, make sure that it's outside of the window of those ones included in here. So unfortunately, here we are. Honda, another one with a mass amount of vehicle failures. Yikes. Take a look down here. Oh, here's one. 4 recalls, 90,000 vehicles for catastrophic engine failure. Here, let's take a look at this in more depth, shall we? And this basically says intake valves, which, oh, look what we have here in the tickle trunk. This here is a valve, okay? This is the valve train. You usually have anywhere from 1 to 2 of these on the intake, 1 to 2 of these on the exhaust side. They let air and fuel in, and then they close and they let exhaust gases out. Based on this, it's the 2.7 liter and the 3 liter EcoBoost V6 engines. So that's in a lot of vehicles, a lot of their bigger, heavier duty trucks. This has been known to fracture. This part here, and that head falls off, breaks off, falls into the combustion chamber, and when a piston hits it on the next cycle, it's all over. That's right. And what is this impact? Well, Ford's saying this recall has about 90,736 vehicles for a potential catastrophic engine failure. See, 2023 Ford F-150, you scroll down, you have multitude of four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive options, and the recalls associated with each individual one. Let's pick one up here. It's a rear-wheel drive gas, pickup, club cab, crew cab here. Let's go into that. There's 7 recalls for this particular unit. Let's see what they have to say for themselves. This one here has an issue, missing dashboard airbag warning label. Rear axle hub bolt may break. We talked about that one being an issue. Driver's side airbag may become deactivated. Unexpected activation of electric park brake. Front axle pinion not heat treated. We also have seen loose bolt in transmission may cause rollaway. Passenger airbag may deploy improperly. Nobody wants to be driving a ticking time bomb. Faulty intake valves could break in certain 2.7 and 3 liter engines, EcoBoost, and vehicles that specifically that impact these are the 2021 to 2022 F-150s with the 2.7 as well as the 3 liter. The Bronco, of course, or the full-size Bronco with the V6. It also includes the Edge, the Lincoln Nautilus, the Lincoln Aviator, and the Explorer. Any of those vehicles that carry that 2.7 or 3 liter V6 engine has this huge risk. Now, the worst part is they're saying it's a specific type of material, and they're calling it Silchrome Light is the type of finish that they have on this. And they say that is very susceptible to overheating condition when they're manufacturing the valve. If it gets overheated too much, it makes it brittle, and then you put it into service, and very few operations later, all of a sudden the valve head falls off of the valve. And then lo and behold, you have a serious engine issue. But this was a big problem. Obviously, affected vehicle owners if an intake valve failure occurs within 10 years or 150,000 miles, owners are eligible for a one-time engine replacement. So they have extended, it looks like some sort of warranty extension on this failure. They are stepping up to the game. I mean, we know Hyundai and Kia had issues with that as well. Not with the valves per se, but they had rod bearing problems, and they were warranting their engines for 10 years. But you gotta read the fine print with that, because a lot of these engine manufacturers, a lot of these vendors, they'll say, well, if then this, right? All it takes is an exclusion, maybe you miss an oil service, and there might be some fine print there. So be sure that you understand the basis to the extended warranty and what they plan to do for you. Like, at the end of the day, this is not a very, very positive outcome. It's sad because that's a lot of vehicles and a lot of popular vehicles. This isn't some strange, weird Maserati. This is a very common vehicle that you see thousands of them all over the road every single day, and each one of them is a potential ticking time bomb. Now, what's Ford going to do about this? Well, they're saying to determine its cumulative number of engine cycles, engines will be replaced on vehicles that do not pass the engine cycle accumulation. They're going to run some tests, they're going to assess, they're going to analyze and tell you whether your engine qualifies. To me, that's bung. That's my own personal opinion. And here we are, the consumer again pays the hefty price. Because if it doesn't fall into the threshold and then it's, later on down the road, somewhere it fails, you know what? This extended warranty, maybe that'll help. I'm not sure. But either way, we have another issue with Ford. And all in the midst of all these problems that Ford's been getting. They are literally the recall king. They've had issues from these drop valves. They've had issues with fuel injector leaks with the 1.5. They've had issues with sudden downshifts on transmissions from, I believe it was 2014 F-150s. They've had lots of issues and recalls. Batteries, the 12-volt batteries are croaking on their Mavericks and and their Bronco Sports. They've had a lot of issues recently, backup cameras, you name it. When you do a search for recalls, Ford's on that list somewhere. And the CEO is talking about that's one of the big issues or items that he wants to address in 2025, because this has been such a big problem. And not just a big problem from reputation, because if you don't trust a vehicle brand because of dropping valves and blowing up and fires, you're probably not going to buy. But also equal to that is the cost. The more recalls, the more warranty claims, the more times that goes into the shop, and that costs a dealership money, or that bill back is going to cost Ford as an OEM money. And so that's not a good place they want to be. It's not a good look for the brand in general. Hey, here's one. We can't leave Tesla out of the game. They have a new recall here. This is as of a couple of days or a day ago. Tesla recalls 380,000 Model 3 and Model Y EVs for power steering problem. A software issue could lead to a loss of power steering assistance. Wow. So what they're saying is 380,000 vehicles, 3s and Ys, in the US. A problem could cause an electrical overload and disable the power steering. Whoa, that sounds scary. I know for a while, there was one a few years ago where the steering wheel just came off. It wasn't bolted on properly and the steering wheel would actually come off. But this is also on top of what we've seen earlier in the year. Tesla had some other recalls, 239,000 recalls for bad rear view cameras earlier in the year, which didn't bode them very well either. And that was for 2024 model years. It's been a tough go for Tesla this year. And certainly the sales have been in the tank. A lot of that's for other reasons. Some of it's for quality, some of it's for range, some of it's for other reasons and the owner of the organization. But there's a variety of failures here, and this 380,000 vehicles is listed under the NHTSA site, so you should be able to find that, correcting the problem via remote software update. So apparently they can do a right software there. Power steering failure, which can occur particularly at low speeds, could increase the effort required to turn the steering wheel, thereby increasing the risk of an accident. In some cases, the steering can become so hardened that the wheel becomes impossible to turn. And they're saying in some cases, they actually have to be towed away, and there's no physical way to actually turn the steering, so it's locked in, locked down. Tesla has registered 3,012 warranty claims that may be related to the problem. However, the automaker is not aware of any accidents or fatalities caused by the fault. Last I heard, it seems like a lot of this information and recalls doesn't go directly to NHTSA. It's logged in there. Sometimes it seems like a lot of the Tesla information seems to be held a little bit closer, but this is the same case as the backup camera. So it's all this over the air, and it really suggests that to me that when you read these storylines, that there's a lot of issues, and a lot of it's just related to software. Honda had a software-related glitch recently as well for fuel injectors and a running issue, stalling, and some problems there too. I remember that one. So it feels to me like a lot of tech software-related challenges these days. Maybe they need to hire some more IT people at some of these organizations. I don't know, just saying. But either way, if you're an owner of one of these vehicles, you definitely want to check it out. Check out your VIN, type it in NHTSA site, and it should spit out everything you need to know. But on that note, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Please do drop a line if you know of anybody that has one of these vehicles and if they've resulted in any issues. Otherwise, would you be willing to buy one of these vehicles not knowing if it has an issue? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that one. I know I'm not willing to take that chance. Maybe you are. I don't know. Let me know. As well as be sure to check out those videos. You're going to love them. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.